Neither WJOU or its licensee, Oakwood University, necessarily share all the views expressed in its programs. They are, however, presented as public information.
Good afternoon and welcome to Second Chance. Second Chance is a weekly talk show that examines a wide range of social issues and seeks to inspire physical, emotional, social, and spiritual healing, believing that God is a God of second chances. And through faith, all things are possible. Second Chance airs live each week from the beautiful campus of Oakwood University and features real people with real issues and offers real answers. And now, here's your host, Kenneth Anderson.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Second Chance radio broadcast. I'm Kenny Anderson, as always delighted to be here with you for the broadcast. And of course, today is a very special day that a lot of people will know about. It's Father's Day 2025, so I will be doing my annual tribute to my dad at the back end of this broadcast. And I think we got a few dads that will pass through today, so we'll make sure that we wish them a happy Father's Day. We're saying happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there today, and wherever you may be, we hope that you're having a good afternoon. Now, I got to at least address the elephant in the room for a moment because, there's a lot of shade thrown on guys sometimes because they don't really elevate the celebration of fathers like Mother's Day is elevated. And that's whatever people choose to do. But I want to remind us all that fathers are indeed a blessing. I had a great one. And if you have a great one and you have an opportunity to connect with him over the next 24 hours, I hope that you will choose to do so. And even beyond that, I hope that you will recognize the true blessing that that person in your life is. And of course, fathers come in all varieties. There are also big papas and surrogate dads, and their mentors and coaches and all kinds of ways in which men engage in the lives of others in order to make this a very significant moment. I'm reminded of a post that I saw earlier in this week from a good friend of mine, and the post simply said, "Grateful I still get to write a Father's Day card." Wow, what a powerful message. And I hope that those of you who have the opportunity to do that today will take advantage of that. We want to welcome everyone tuning in this afternoon. There are people listening on the radio at 90.1 FM. There are people listening this afternoon at WJOU all over the world. And, of course, there's some people who are really getting hip to the fact that we are live streaming this show today at Praise 90.1 FM on both Facebook and YouTube. So even in this moment, if you want to hop over there, you can actually see my guests. You can see us talking in the studio, and you can see all the different things that are going on so that you also get a visual representation of the process in addition to the great audio conversation that we have. I'm not going to waste a lot more time, not that I've wasted any up to now, but I'm just so excited about my first guest. And he looks good, doesn't he? See, that's the key for those that need to get over to the live stream, this afternoon. He's none other than Chaplain Robert Peters III. I just got to say, listen, I'm going to do the formal introduction, but I'm so happy to see you in this moment. I just need to say what's up because we're family.
Hey, Ken. Good to see you, fam. And it is a privilege and a blessing to be here with you, with our listening and viewing audience.
Absolutely, man. And sacrifice that you've made in order to invest in this space is one that I am acknowledging because you're in Okinawa, Japan, which means that are you in the next day already?
I'm in the next day already.
Listen, early in the morning, too.
Early in the morning.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. I will absolutely value the time that we have to spend together today. And happy Father's Day to you, by the way.
Thank you, and the same to you and to all the other fathers that are viewing with us today.
Yeah, just before I do the introduction too, Father's Day means different things to different people. What does it mean to you, especially now that you are a father?
Father's Day is an opportunity to reflect for me on the goodness of God, both in giving me a father who is now deceased and is no longer with us, um, and not only giving me a father, but giving me the opportunity to be a father and to experience the joys, the sorrows, the highs, the lows, the challenges, the difficulties of what it means to be a father. Um, and it also gives me a better glimpse of who God is, and his love and care for me and you and everyone listening.
Yeah, that's powerful and a great way to start. Let me do this officially, folks, because I do have a very special guest with me today. Chaplain Robert Peters III is a native of Boston, Massachusetts. He's an alum of the Oakwood Adventist Academy system, Oakwood College system, and more. He is endorsed by the Adventist Chaplaincy Ministries to serve as a chaplain in the United States Navy. He earned undergraduate degrees here at Oakwood College, now university. He's been through Andrews Theological Seminary, earning a Master's of Divinity there. He earned a Master of Art in National Security and Strategic Studies. He has also received a Doctor of Strategic Leadership from Regent University in Virginia Beach, Virginia. In March of 1992, he joined the United States Marine Corps, and over the next 8 years, he became a naval aviator. He was a helicopter pilot with the Marine Medium Helicopter Squadron 162 and was deployed on several assignments. In August of 2000, Chaplain Peters joined the Navy to become a chaplain. I'm just enraptured by your career and your journey, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about this journey that you've had, because it is fascinating. You served as command chaplain for Command Carrier Air Wing 3rd Recruit Training Battalion, and so many more assignments. You were an instructor and professional development deputy director. You currently serve as the director Chaplain Ascensions Program at Navy Recruiting Command in Millington, Tennessee, and you currently serve as the first Marine Aircraft Wing Chaplain in Okinawa, Japan. You're married to the former Dallas Henry of the great Long Island, New York, and you live in Okinawa, Japan. Chaplain, it's just great to have you on the show today.
Well, thanks, Kenny. It really is. Even early in the morning, a blessing to be here with you all.
Thank you. You know, I owe you one or two, or three maybe. Thank you for this. Listen, I mean, one of the, and I'm going to be totally transparent with my audience, because even when we talked about making this happen, the point of acknowledgement for me was that I've known Robert forever, but I've never had him on my show to just kind of reflect and talk about things. And it wasn't anything strategic or something that happened that, well, no, let's not have one show or anything like that. I think sometimes we pass through life, we respect, observe, and admire what people do, but then we don't really invest in spaces like this to be able to kind of unpack that journey. And you really do have a very distinguished career in the military as a chaplain and as a pilot. I mean, you've done a lot of things, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the journey. The first part of the journey, though, is I'm going to take you all the way back to Oakwood Adventist Academy, because I didn't get to have that great experience like so many people have, but yet I've always admired the Oakwood Adventist Academy vibe. Yes. Because it is powerful, it is unique, it's strong, and so many people have come through the halls of that small institution.
That's right. The one hall school.
That's right. Have done profound things in the world, and you are the same. When you think about that part of your journey and where you are today, what reflections do you have about that aspect of the journey?
Wow. To not sound cliche, I say Christian education doesn't cost; it pays. The close knitness of being in a small school, and the representation and the motivation that is provided you by individuals that both look like you, are invested in your well-being, not just professionally but eternally. Those are the equalizers. I mean, those are the unintangibles that enable myself and so many other Oakwood Adventist Academy, I'll say GAAA, Pine Forge, any other small, especially historically Black institutions that have empowered us to overcome sometimes us that would crumble others. Those were the ingredients that we had mixed into us at that institution by greats like other T. Marshall Kelly, other teachers. My mother, Yvonne Peters, was one of my teachers at that institution. We've had individuals there like Fred Pullins, who was a principal there who poured into us in many ways, and Ronald Lang, and so many other individuals who, when they see this, they're going to be upset that I didn't mention all their names, but so many other individuals that invested their time, sweat, blood, and tears and prayers over us that just made a difference.
Yeah. We'll just call it the OAA collective, and then we'll just say everybody's included in that process.
Absolutely.
Because even if you came in one time, like I did over the course of time, came in from time to time and just did little motivation speeches with some class and things like that, even if you've been a part of that DNA, it's a powerful thing to think about and reflect on. And clearly you are a student of education. You are someone who values the core essence of education, what it can provide for you as you've gone from, the elementary phase all the way up to the doctoral phase. Talk to me a little bit about the value of education itself as a way of helping to navigate through life.
Yes. Education is a key that unlocks opportunities and possibilities that without just stay hidden and out of reach for so many. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean you have to go to formal education. You do not have to go to college. You do not have to go to get a master's or a doctorate or a second master's. You don't have to do those things. However, education is critical, whether it's formal, self-taught. Yet you have to be a forever learner. You have to be inquisitive. You have to not limit yourself. You have to explore. God made us with a never-ending supply of inquisitivity that's to be satisfied by learning. And in learning, you discover that there's so much more to life. There's so much more to yourself, and there's so much more to others than is really being revealed to you by formal education alone and by whoever is in control of the system. So you have to go out and educate yourself. And travel, I believe travel and exploration is one of the best ways to do that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I think if I was the chancellor of the universe, of the education universe, I would require that every student that graduates would have at least one credit of international travel as a requirement, because it really opens up people's eyes to what the world really represents. And we're not it. Anywhere we are, we're not it. We're not not the end of the story. Actually, we're just the beginning of the story.
Amen.
Yeah. Right. I want to ask you this question because as I was sharing your biography, of course, I noted many distinguished opportunities in the military, and you chose the chaplaincy route at some point. Initially, you were a helicopter pilot. I want to ask you this, a two-part question. The first part of the question is, how did you get into that space? What is it that attracted you to that space? And as you reflect on the career that you've had over 3 decades now, did you see yourself aligned in terms of your own personal goals and mission in life to be where you might be today? And then you then became a chaplain, and you have developed that element of your alignment in the military. Talk about the first part first and then the second part second.
All right. So Kenny, the reason I joined the Marine Corps is because I wanted to be a pilot, right? The short story goes like this. When I was in high school at Oakwood Academy, I promised God if he'd let me fly on earth and fly in heaven, I'd do whatever he wanted me to do. So, in the late 80s, Top Gun was a big thing. And all my family had been in the military, and I wanted to fly. Right? I wanted to be an officer, and I wanted to fly. So I went to the Navy recruiters, took the test, but knew nothing about flying, so did not pass the aviation portion. Passed all the academic stuff because Oakwood had done an outstanding job with our training, but didn't know anything about aviation. Several months later, at my university at this point in time, University of Alabama in Huntsville, I saw a Marine recruiter, and he was standing in front of his recruiting stand, looking sharp, and I saw all these planes on his board, and I walked up to him, looking like a young brother in the '80s, pants sagging, oversized clothes, and I said, what are you doing with planes on your poster? And he goes, he looked at me because he was a cousin, right? He was a white recruiter, and he looked at me, he looked me up and down, and I said, no, 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 don't let my clothes fool you. I said, I just need to know, what are y'all doing with planes? And then he answered, he goes, Marines have the best aviators in the world. And I go, no, y'all don't. He gets indignant. He goes, yes, we do. I go, no, y'all don't. He go, who has the best aviators in the world then? I said, everybody knows the Navy has the best aviators. They fly and land on aircraft carriers. Can't nobody outdo their training or their aviation. He looks me in my face and goes, who do you think trains Marines? I'm like, I don't know. I ain't even know Marines had pilots. He goes, the Navy trains the Marines. And do you know why Marines are better than naval aviators? I'm like, no, I don't know why Marines are better than the Navy. He goes, because the Marine Corps is going to make you a Marine before they ever let you touch a plane. And no matter how fast your plane is, it can't outrun a missile. So when it gets hit and you end up on the ground, if you're not a Marine, you're not going to make it. I was like, oh, so where do I sign up? Where do I sign up? And, the rest of that story is he came back a few months later, gave me the test because I told him what had happened the first time. And he went and checked my records, and he was like, wow, you did pass, but you bombed the aviation portion. I'm like, I don't know nothing about aviation. He goes, go get this book, read these chapters, and you'll be good to go. So education. So I went and got the book, read the chapters. I was like, oh, this is all the stuff I didn't know. Came back and gave me the test, and I passed it. Praise God. And the rest was history. Off into the Marine Corps I went. And the Marine Corps, God needed me in the Marine Corps because he had so much to teach me. And it was just fantastic. So much spiritually, so much concerning maturation, so much concerning being a leader, so much about love and faith. God sent me to the Marine Corps to teach me. And then, right, you said something that I chose to become a chaplain. I want to correct you there and correct all and make sure I get the record straight for all your viewers. I did not choose to be a chaplain.
All right.
God chose me to be a chaplain.
Mm.
If you knew me when I was in Oakwood, if you knew me when I was young, if you was running in my circles, if you knew me in the Marine Corps, you would know that I did not go to Oakwood. You look at my resume. There's no theology on there. I did not go to school to be a minister. But in the Marine Corps, God, he did some work on my heart and transformed me to the point that when he called me in '99 and said, hey, guess what? I want you to be a chaplain. I didn't immediately go, yes, Lord, here I am, send me. No,
Right.
no, that was not my response. I'm not going to lie. But after 3 days and 3 nights of fighting and walking in the desert with God, literally 24 hours, 3 days a night, 3 days, 3 nights, no sleep. I was like, you really want me to do this? And God was like, yes. And I answered the call, and it's been tremendous. It's been an amazing 25 years of being a military chaplain.
Wow. As a chaplain, you, of course, identify with a specific denomination.
Yes.
But, well, I should say, as a person, you do. I want to ask you, how does that shape out in terms of your own personal identity with a specific denomination and your ministry as a chaplain to many, many people, including people who come from different denominations, but some people who may have no connection to faith?
Yes. Oh, that's an excellent question, Kenny. Let's see. I don't want to answer that. Well, first off, as you stated, I'm a Seventh Adventist chaplain. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And in order to be a chaplain in the military, you have to be endorsed by your religious organization. Chaplains serve at the auspices of both their religious organization and the military, and I need both their permissions to be here. If either one of them says you can't play, then I have to leave. With that, we chaplains serve. So I tell people chaplains are pastors that have received the call from God to leave the flock to minister to people who don't have a shepherd. All right. We haven't left the church. we've answered the call to care for people who normally don't have a shepherd. And so what that looks like is uh, chaplains find themselves in public institutions, hospitals, universities, prisons. I've seen them in bakeries. I've seen them in airports, in the military, hospitals. And our job is 24/7 care for people. So we represent our religious organizations. We never do anything that we would not do in our church or that our organization would not approve of, but we care for everybody. And so CARE is an acronym. CARE is an acronym. In Navy, when I explain what chaplains do to people, I say we care, CARE. C is we counsel. So everybody has problems. I tell folks, if you're married, you got problems. If you're single, you got problems. If you have kids, you got problems. If you're young, you got problems. If you're old, you got problems. Chaplains, we allow people a safe space to talk about whatever's bothering them. No shame, no judgment, and no retribution, right? We won't disclose anything you say to us. We will listen. We advise. Most chaplains are old, especially in the military, old compared to the people we're dealing with. And so we advise on all sorts of things, both internal to the commands we're with and external to the commands we're with, dealing with our interactions with other governments and how we interact with people in peace and in war and in conflict. The R is provide religious services. So as a Seventh-day Adventist chaplain, I provide religious services for Seventh-day Adventists and any religious person or group of believers, Christian believers, that share primarily the same belief and faith that we do. All right, preach, teach, baptize, do marriage counseling, do weddings, do funerals, communion, the whole nine. And then the E in CARE, in the acronym CARE, for everyone else that's not of the same religion, that has no religious belief, is we protect their religious freedoms. Right? And so if someone is giving them grief because they have a different religion or have no religion, we will support them and make sure that their constitutional rights are not compromised. We will provide, actually facilitate for them if someone is of a different faith and I'm their chaplain, I'll make sure they get what they need in order to exercise their religious belief. If they don't want to practice any religion and they're catching grief, I will stand in their corner and support them in their freedoms to not exercise any religion because that's their right. And so as chaplains, that's what we do 24/7. We are with our people wherever they are, any clime, any place, on land, on sea, in foreign countries, which is why I'm in Okinawa now. And it's a blessing from God to be able to do that. We have the opportunity of preaching all the time. And when necessary, we use words.
How has the transition been for you to Okinawa?
Truth in Advertising, Okinawa is fantastic. This is our second time back in Okinawa. We absolutely love it. We welcome anyone to come and visit us so that you can experience it too. My mother was just out here. She was here for a promotion, so this is her first time to be able to visit us. And she had a good time, and she'll be heading back home shortly. By the time this is aired, she'll be back home. But wow! And we had another visitor come out while she was here also. Yes. Welcome to come. If you know me, hit me up. You're in this area, we will host you. We love Okinawa.
Hey, listen, man, it's dangerous to tell a retiree that they've got an open invitation.
The table is set and your bed is made.
All right. I've not made that trip, and I'm doing some traveling. So
all right.
I'll be in touch with you. Let me ask you
second
this.
chance from out here.
Hey, oh, wow, that can happen with technology too. We can
Sure can.
absolutely make that happen. I want to ask you this question, and we've got about 5 minutes left, but
Okay.
I got to get this in because the chaplain needs caregiving. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily saying you specifically, even though you're included in the Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Chaplains.
Yes.
You need to maintain a balance between work,
Yes.
life, family, etc. which requires you to really kind of monitor your own need for self-care. How do you go about doing that?
There's a phrase we use in the military, in the Marine Corps especially. It's called total fitness, right? Total fitness. They expect and we promote, we model total fitness, and that's mental fitness, spiritual fitness, physical fitness, and social fitness, right? All four of those elements of fitness are critical. Now, as growing up in an Adventist church, we use New Start, right? Nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and trust in divine power. Different acronyms, but truthfully, the same principles. That balance is critical, that you hold yourself accountable, you model it, as well as have a team of accountability partners, starting with my wife, that encourages me and keeps me making sure all those areas of my life are fit. You know how it is if you have a car and one wheel is imbalanced. No matter how nice your car is, it's going to shake until it falls apart. So it's critical that my total fitness, mental, physical, spiritual, and social, it stays balanced and it stays fit. And so that's how I do it. In each one of those areas, there are different things that I do. I'm 55. I work out all the time. I eat properly. Some of the guests you're going to have on here today talking about the healthy lifestyle. We've been plant-based for now over 15 years. Spirituality. I'm up in the morning right about this time normally, and me and God are vibing and studying and praying and talking, getting ready for the day, praying for the challenges that lie ahead. Socially, I'm an extreme extrovert, Kenny. You see me all over the place. I love people, so I get all my social fitness in, and then mental fitness. Well, you see my bio. I continue to study, continue to learn, continue to keep the edge sharp, so that the difficulties and challenges in life, which are real and many. All right, my 30 plus years in the military, I've seen some things, experienced some things. It's real. And then I'll put this plug in here too, right? Don't be afraid to get counseling, right? I tell people I'm a counselor and a pastoral counselor, and I have had counselors. I get counsel. Scripture says wisdom is found in the multitude of counselors. Get counsel. Right? If your leg is broke, you get medical help. If your car's not working, you go get professional mechanics to fix your car. If your plumbing is messed up, you get professional plumbers. If you're having emotional, psychological, or spiritual challenge, get professional counselors to help you. There's no shame in that.
None whatsoever. And that's a great plug to kind of round things out. I'm going to give you just 1 minute because there are students in your position right now who are where you were so many years ago. And they're kind of looking forward in their life. And this graduation season, as decisions are being made and people are celebrating the next step, what would you have to say to this younger generation of people who are beginning their journey and looking ahead?
Oh, I would say representation matters. Don't be afraid to do the hard or the impossible because nobody else is there. If you have it in your heart to do something, if God has placed a dream in your heart, go for it. It doesn't matter if nobody else is there. Doesn't matter if it's going to be difficult. Doesn't matter if there's going to be great challenges. Don't be lazy. Go for it. Quick story. In 1999, Kenny, when I was a Marine pilot, a young man saw me and took a photo with me. He took a photo with me because he'd never seen a black pilot before. 16, 17 years later, in 2016, I saw that same young man, and he saw me after God had called me to be a chaplain. And when he saw me, he screamed out, "Oh my goodness, what are you doing here?" And I looked at him because I didn't know who he was 16 years, 17 years later. He goes, "Didn't you used to be a pilot?" I go, "Yes." He goes, "What are you doing as a chaplain?" I'm like, "Who are you?" He goes, "Oh, that's right. You don't even know who I am. It's been 17 years. He goes, "I've got a picture with you. I took it the first time I saw you when we were in the desert in 29 Palms because I'd never seen a black pilot." He goes, "Oh my goodness. Wait till I tell my wife. I'm going to bring the picture tomorrow." And I was
Wow.
like, "Are you serious?"
Wow.
And he brought the picture the next day and we took a photo together,
Wow.
marking the 17-year difference. Representation matters.
Mm.
All right. So go for it.
Yeah.
You have no idea who you will bring hope to and who you will encourage with faith.
Chaplain Robert Peters III, what a privilege it's been to be able to talk to you. There are some people listening this afternoon in certain places, and there are actually some people listening this morning, wherever you might be, as you are in Okinawa, Japan. And I certainly appreciate you for joining us today. Love you, brother, and I look forward to having another conversation with you soon.
Much love, fam. God bless you and all the listeners.
All right. Take care, man. Great way to start our broadcast today. That was Chaplain Robert Peters III joining us from Okinawa, Japan. We are an international broadcast, folks, and that's why we're inviting you, if you're listening right now at Praise 90.1 WJOU on WJOU.org, hop on over to the live stream and check us out on Praise 90.1 FM on either Facebook or YouTube. Or you can hop on over if you're at 90.1 FM, meaning that you're listening to the radio station at this time. I'm inspired at this moment. I'm going to keep the ball rolling because my next guests are in place and ready to roll. And I want to go ahead and bring them into the conversation right now. It's so good to see the ladies this afternoon. Paula Akins is joining us. She's a culinary instructor, cookbook author, and food stylist. Received her bachelor's and master's from San Francisco State University and the great Alabama A&M University. Not that San Francisco State wasn't great, but, I went to Alabama A&M too, so that means we're fellow Bulldogs. Shout out to both schools, though. In the areas of food and nutrition. She's taught as a professor at Oakland University in the areas of food and nutrition, and she, along with her husband, Curtis, who will be on our broadcast later in the show today, is the Health Ministries co-director for the South Central Conference of Seventh-day Adventists and telecast co-host of Abundant Living, a lifestyle medicine plant-based cooking show aired on Three Angels Broadcasting Network for over 28 years. Paula Akins, welcome back to this broadcast. It's been too long.
Yes, Kenny, it is a pleasure to be with you.
It's great to have you. And we're going to tell people why you're here today in just a moment, but I also want to introduce my other guest, who's really no stranger to the WJOU family. She's a family member, but, she's kind of doing lots of things and expanding her toolkit, so we certainly understand that. Carlisha Swan, she was known as K Swan back in the day, right here on this broadcast, in this station, is a dynamic force of faith, creativity and purpose, social worker, entrepreneur, author, media producer, and women's ministry leader, a proud graduate of the great Oakwood University and the great Alabama A&M University. She's dedicated her life to empowering women and girls through her nonprofit First Lady Empowerment Foundation, Incorporated, by operating We Care Alabama, a group home serving individuals with intellectual disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say that she's figured out how to find 28 hours in a day, whereas the rest of us just have 24 with all those things that she's doing. She's found the magic cure. We'll have that conversation another time. Right. But Carlisha, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right. Listen, this is our big Father's Day broadcast today, and so we're real excited about that. We've been celebrating fathers and Father's Day and inviting people to absolutely embrace that, whether they are reflecting on the life and legacy like I am of my dad and others who have their dads to still hold on to now. We are absolutely celebrating. But I want to ask you all something because I was made aware of a very important initiative that went down at First Seventh-day Adventist Church last month. And of course, last month, May, was Mental Health Awareness Month. The month of June is Men's Health Month. And next month is Minority Health Month. So there's always opportunity and time to talk about wellness and why that's so important. There was a women's wellness initiative that was done in partnership with these two awesome women today. And I wanted to just reflect a little bit on the experience and also use it as a way to perhaps inspire others to turn their attention towards why this is such an important thing to do. Carlisha, I'm going to actually start with you because you're the women's ministry leader at the church in which this took place. And I want to talk to you about why was this important for you to promote this type of an event for women in the community?
Well, great question. So I really, truly believe that collaboration is important so that we can make a bigger impact. And so when we're talking about women, which I am, and then health, which Paula is the leader, ministry leader there with that, it was like a no-brainer to come together to provide this information for the church and for the community.
Yeah, Paula, you're the co-director of Health Ministries for the Great South Central Conference that covers many states. So you and Curtis not only traveled through the ministry of 3ABN, but you also traveled through the ministry of health ministries and the opportunities that you have to engage congregations. And this is not just an assignment for you. This is really your purpose. This is part of the reason that you're on the planet right now and have been doing this for so many years. Why was it important for you to be a part of this? And then in the same spirit of collaboration, why was that a key element of this initiative happening?
Well, Kenny, one of the things that I'm really thankful for, and that is, people do know me as a cook and cookbook author, but I also talk on other subjects other than just cooking. And so I got with Carlisha, the women's ministries leader, and we did a partnership with health and women's ministries to bring to the First Church and also the community on May the 18th, which is what just passed, a women's wellness conference. Kenny, it was over 90 women that was in this conference.
Wow.
They came from everywhere from the ages of 20 to 80 something. They were all there present to just talk about us as women and what is going on with us as it relates to our health.
I want to ask you all this, and I want to talk a lot more about the content and the experience that people had in this moment. But you all just said a couple of bad words, and I want to make sure that we set the record straight. Partnership and collaboration are two words that people seem to run away from. And I'm always telling people, no, you need to lean into those words because we're always talking about limited resources. We're always talking about, I wish we had more people to expose this information to. I mean, there are all kind of reasons why partnership and collaboration really matters in terms of faith-based ministry, which is what we're talking about here. That needs to go well beyond the walls of our church. It's okay to make the announcement in church, invite people, but what about that community where that church exists? What about the community, the communities not far from where that church is, where people can be a part of? Talk to me a little bit more about those words that some people just have not fully embraced, because it really makes life so much easier when you're in the partnership collaboration mindset. Carlisha, I'll let you start.
So if I can just be real and honest,
Yes.
I think part of the reason people stray from it is because perhaps they think they can do it themselves, or they want to be the one to say, I did thus and so.
Yeah, now you're really getting real with it.
And so when we have to, when we're talking about ministry, it's never about us. And so we have to really realize, what is the end goal? What is the purpose here? It's not for me to be seen. So if there's something that another ministry or another organization can benefit from partnering with us, or vice versa, we should do that, because again, the impact goes well beyond just where we are right here. So it's for me, it's a no-brainer.
And Paula, I know you are in the mindset and Paula, you've been in the mindset and have been for so many years with making more of little and making sure that, you're not going to be deterred by a limited budget. You're not going to be deterred by limited resources. You're going to make sure that you maximize the opportunity to share this good information with people. Talk to me a little bit more about that whole notion of partnership and collaboration and why it is so relevant to our ministries.
Well, Kenny, the thing is that we all don't know everything about everything. And so how smart it is that when you're into a subject that you want to talk about is to find other people who not only have the same like interests, like once again, like interests is that me and Carlisha are very much involved in helping women, helping other individuals. And so when I came to her and said, let's do this project together, she was so excited. And of course, she's going to pull the women in, as well as the fact that Curtis and I are well known in the community. It's going to pull other women in as well. And so partnershiping is, like Carlisha said, it's not just about you. It's about how we feel about helping others. And whatever that takes, we need to do it.
Yeah.
So conceptually, how did you all bring this to be? What was it like first sitting down talking about, a women's health initiative that was going to be made available to the community. Talk to us a little bit about what that process was, because I think we can even help people that are listening this afternoon who might be in similar situations and have similar opportunities to really leverage this kind of a moment. So talk to me a little bit about that, and I'll let either one of you start.
Well, I think it's important to understand that we both had a common goal. Like she mentioned earlier, is about helping women, and so it just helps when that's the goal, and you want to work together, and you want to just bring something to others that they can benefit from. And with this particular topic, for me, it was of interest because if I can be transparent, I'm falling into the category in which the topics were coming about. And so I was very intrigued and very open to bringing that to other people.
Okay, now, I want at least one example of that, because in my mind, I'm thinking about what she might be talking about. And I think I might be right, but give me one example.
Well, I'll say this. I'm still kind of in denial, so I'm gonna let Paula. She can go into that detail. So,
all right. Well, look. I know Paula doesn't need any empowerment, but I'm just gonna say it like this. The reason I responded the way I did was because I pay attention to every announcement, every email, every message about Medicaid in the world and Medicare. When my wife and I were caregivers for 3 years, even being a mental health counselor for 30 years, it was just sort of like over here, and then all of a sudden we're having to use it. And we're having to navigate the system. And so, listen, I'm listening to everything about Medicare. So what happens last year when I retired from the city of Huntsville in October? They said, oh, no, you can't take your Blue Cross Blue Shield with you. You got to take Medicare. Okay, I better wake up and start listening to everything that's happening, because now it really matters. So that's why I said I kind of know the zone, the area. Paula, your thoughts about that?
Well, one of the things that's going on, Kenny, is that I was seeing in the areas we were in, especially at First Church, I was seeing women fanning, sweating, just having a time when it came to what is going on with all the women at First Church. And it was not all of them, but it was a certain group of women that this was going on with. And then when I would go to the grocery store, or I would go somewhere in our community, I would see them fans out, people just fanning like crazy. And I said, okay. And as I began to pray and ask the Father, what do we do with this? I've been really doing classes on women's wellness and also this specific subject on menopause for almost 30 years, Kenny. And like Carlicia, for me, it was that I had gone through some stuff my own self as a woman. And I didn't want to just keep that to myself, because a lot of it, sometimes as women, we're just caregivers for everybody, but not a caregiver for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not until we go through something and we might talk to another sister or someone else about it, but really not always getting the right information. So like with you, when you're talking about Medicaid, Medicare, and all that, I needed to get into that whole subject of what can I say? How can I help? What do women need to know? And what better way than to partnership with Carlicia and say, okay, let's do this thing. And we were really kind of surprised. This is not the first time I've done it, but we were quite surprised as the women signed up like crazy. We had over 90 women that were ready to go. They were there on time. They were in their seats, and they were like, we have never had this kind of thing going on. And so the community and the church members were there for this meeting. And we kind of got started with just talking to women about, there's a specific time, Kenny, believe it or not, every single May, the month of May, the United States Department of Health and Human Services for Women, they have a special celebration week, and it's called Celebrating Women's Wellness. And this year was May the 18th. And so we decided, they are telling us that we should make sure that within that week of Mother's Day weekend, or a little after, that for a whole week, we do some screening. Do you know what your blood pressure is? Yeah. Do you know what your cholesterol numbers are? What is your A1C? You know, what's going on with us with these mammograms and osteoporosis? So a whole week, they're asking women, Go and see your doctors and get information about where you are and what's going on. And so I was so glad that when I talked with Carlisha about it, that we were able to do that in the month of May, right at that same time.
Mhm.
It is a very powerful message in terms of sharing that emphasis and inspiring people and motivating people to become advocates for themselves. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge again that June is Men's Health Month.
Yes.
And we're just the opposite. We tend to be just the opposite. And I've been making comments about that over the last couple of weeks of the broadcast. Some of the things I pointed out was the fact that men tend to live 5 years less than women. About 50% less men advocate for their preventive health by having at least one visit with a doctor a year. That we don't necessarily pay attention to the warning signs. And when there's a little pain or a little discomfort or a little transition, we kind of ignore it and don't talk about it. Is there something about women that you think makes them more inclined to take care of themselves? Because I personally feel a lot of it has to do with the way men are socialized to be tough and strong and kind of push through stuff. And we don't necessarily share the kind of intimacy that women tend to have. I wonder what your thoughts might be about that.
Well, Carlisha, do you want to make a comment first before I say something?
I don't know. I think we as women, I mean, we're naturally nurturers. We're natural at being having camaraderie amongst each other and having spaces to share. And so I think in terms of taking care of ourselves, I mean, let's be honest, we take care of everything, everybody all the time. So we got to stay well. I mean, I'm just saying, we have to. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any other, in my opinion, I'm not sure, but I think that's just how we were raised to just make sure we're okay, or try to make sure we're okay, and try to have effort to do so.
But before Paula jumps in, do you talk to your brother James about his health?
You know what? Yes and no. We actually just had a conversation not too long ago, and he was actually telling me that I needed to make sure I get my annual stuff going. And so I can honestly say there's room for more conversation as it relates to me, sharing with my brother. We have, but it hasn't been ongoing. But it has happened. And so I can say, we're moving in that direction to where we're both having that conversation back and forth about our health.
Yeah. And just so people will understand, I know James very well, and it wasn't that I was suggesting something was or was not happening. I just think that there is an opportunity sometimes among family to really kind of hold ourselves accountable. Just, one of the dynamics that I think needs to happen is we need to have family meetings that involve the conversation of health.
Sure.
And family history. Because there's so much in that space that we need to be thinking about. Paula, go ahead. You respond to my question, please.
I agree with you 100%. Yes, men are a little bit more harder to try to convince and talk to about going and having that done. And later on, Curtis is going to talk about that, because guess what, Kenny? While we were having our program, Curtis was in the other room with the men having their program,
right?
Same kind of subject about what's going on with us as women. And I mean, theirs was on men, of course, and ours was on the women. And the thing that's so amazing is that the reason why I titled it Women's Health, Kenny, is because the subject we were really getting into, as Carlisha and I had a good time with, and that was cool answers to a hot topic, and that was about menopause. So we did perimenopause, before menopause, we did menopause, we did postmenopause, but it was one of those kind of programs, Kenny, where it was not just a lot of information out there. It was funny, it was jokes going on, it was seriousness, it was tears going on, it was everything about where you at, what's going on with you, and how do you get the information that you need to have so that you can be okay as you're moving through the years of your life as a female.
Yeah.
Yeah. as you have stepped away from this opportunity that you had to spend with this almost 100 women, I think that is absolutely phenomenal to have that kind of a response for a first kind of event, first kind of partnership event. I think that's a great thing to build on. What do you think is the next step for you in terms of either collaboration or the work that you do through Health Ministries, Paula, and the work that you do as Women's Ministries Director, Carlisha? I'll start with Carlisha.
So obviously, there's a desire and a need for these types of conversations. Like you said, the response was amazing. I think we have to stay open to creating safe spaces at church for these types of conversations and encourage others to want to be a part of, what we have going on. So, moving forward, more conversation about health and wellness and all types of topics, mental health, self-esteem, things that we all deal with as women, just creating more safe spaces to do that.
Yeah, Paula?
And can I say also, once again, this subject is a subject that is all women. We had women that came in there as young as their 20s and as old as their 80s that was in this conversation that was going on about what's happening with us as women. And I did women's wellness because if I had just said, let's just do menopause, because of the stigma that goes along with that, even though women might be going through that, they don't want other women to know they're going through that. And that's all about society and how they picture us as women. But really and truly, our best lives actually begin when we go through this time in our life, where we're actually able to settle down more. We're able to do some things for ourselves as well. And that partnership is something that's not just church. It's wide open for any women, no matter where she is, no matter what is going on. And I think that's the reason why we did a lot of advertisement. I think that's why we had so many women coming, and others kept saying, I missed that meeting. The bottom line is that, Kenny, over 1.3 million women experience going through life changes as menopause. And that's over 6,000 women every day. Now that can be a lot of angry women or a lot of happy women. We want to make sure they go in there happy, because a lot of them might not be happy. And we want to teach them how to actually navigate through this time in their life.
Yeah, Carlisha lit up a little bit as you were talking, a little less denial. You feeling a little less denial now?
A lot less denial. It's so important, because your body is doing so many different things, and you don't know what's happening. And so to put a face to it or a voice to it, information to it, it really, really helps.
This is, as I'm listening to you all, I'm thinking that this is really health mentorship. This is really providing people with the space, and you keep using that word as a great word, safe spaces to have safe conversations about critical issues that matter to all of us, that as you have these kinds of conversations, it really creates the opportunity to extend the experienced from the unexperienced in a way that can really inform them and educate them and help them prepare and plan better. And so that notion of health mentorship just keeps popping up in my head. I'm like, that's really what you're talking about. It's like, me being with some young guys, and they're like, you're the OG in the room, give us some guidance on how to navigate life. Well, this is the same thing as far as health is concerned, because it's a similar kind of experience, even though it's experienced individually by the person. And even knowing that, I think, is so important. We got maybe about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to ask this question because as a part of the what's next step also, that one of the things that I try to avail myself of is every opportunity to advocate for my own health. How do we encourage all people, and we can say women since we're talking about women specifically, but they do a pretty good job right now, but how do we perhaps inspire more to advocate for their health in terms of regular checkups, not ignoring things that might happen or might seem a little different. How do we do that? Carlisha?
I think, and and this is maybe not for everybody, but there should be individuals who are willing to be vulnerable and to be open to sharing their own things that they're doing to keep themselves healthy. Social media is such a huge thing, and I've seen people post like, I've worked out today kind of thing. And then I'm like, okay, let me go and work out. So the impact of people sharing their story or sharing their process of what they're doing to remain healthy or to prevent health issues is important. And so, like I said, everyone's not to that point where they're just sharing and telling everything, but there are people who can share even amongst themselves. Like you went back, spoke about, my brother, same kind of thing, just saying, hey, I went to the doctor today, or I'm going tomorrow, or, have you been, kind of thing. I think, again, creating a space where it's not taboo anymore. Like that's just what we do now. We go to the doctor, we go get therapy, we eat right, we do what we can, and that's just the way of life. And so those are the conversations that we're having with people, and I think that could help.
Yeah, Paula, I'll let you wrap it up with your comments.
I think too, along with that, there are times when we go through stuff as women that we feel like we're alone. And I think that programs like what Carlicia's having now with women's ministries and this partnershiping that we're actually doing, this brings the women together, even though they might be lonely and not really understanding what should they do next. That camaraderie of having other women around you that know that you're not the only one. And I know that for sure, a lot of times, even with our ministry, Curse in My Ministry, one of the things that make us really relate to the people is that we tell our own stories. We tell our stories, we tell what's happened to us and how it happened to us. And that really makes people say, wow, because they might see you one way, but not know that you've been through stuff also. And then at the very end, we got to bring in that relationship with us and the Lord. And I think that when that happens, you show the fact of we might be vulnerable, we might not be doing everything just right, but there's something about somebody loves us. Not just our sisters, but also God himself. And so all that's incorporated in it. And we are just so excited to continue to do the same things we're doing. Carlicia and I have already talked about some other subjects in the area of health, because she's got a lot of things going on with women. But the bottom line is just be there for each other, not with misinformation, but information that can be of help.
Wow, I absolutely love it. And the fact that you had this awesome event. It took place again on May the 18th at the First SDA Church, which was a church on the move. It's a church that's always thinking outwardly in terms of how do we engage people, how do we equip people, provided an opportunity for this women's wellness convention, had close to 100 women there. And of course, just say 200 because each one had an angel with them. So, you had a lot of people in the house. So that was a wonderful and beautiful event. Tell people how they may be listening this afternoon and saying, boy, that's a great idea. I'd like to learn more about how do I really nurture a partnership. Somebody may want to reach out to you and partner with you. Who knows? As they're listening this afternoon, how would people connect with you, Carlicia?
Well, people can send an email to the women's ministry email, which is sistercirclefc@gmail.com. And then we also have a text messaging system now that they can also reach out to. And that number is 833-403-4248. That's just text only.
All right. So you got some resources for them. Paula, how would people reach out to you?
And mine is the letter H, seminar @bellsouth.net. That's how you can reach me as far as trying to get more information on how to maybe partnership or come out and talk. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that me and my Carlicia would be more than glad to go together somewhere and talk some more on this same subject.
Absolutely. People would love to have you. Carlicia Swan is the Women's Ministries Director at the Great First Seventh-day Adventist Church based here in Huntsville, Alabama, a church where Paula also has membership, but she's got a big role as a co-director of the health ministries for the entire South Central Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. And we're just delighted that these ladies came on today to share this information. Never a one and done with me. We want to definitely know what's happening. And next time something like this happens, let's do a pre-show. Let's get people ready for it and let them know what's coming and how they can be involved. Ladies, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
All right. I tell you, folks, this is a great show today. I mean, I'm actually taking notes myself. I'm listening. I'm fired up. I'm motivated. I'm energized. And it's really, really good stuff happening. I'm going to come back in just a moment with my next guest right after a short moment so that we can tell you who.
Praise 90.1 FM for guidance. For inspiration. For upliftment. Giving you continuous reasons to praise, we're Praise 90.1 FM.
Transforming lives.
You're listening to Second Chance with Kenneth Anderson.
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Carlisha Swan and Paula Akins this afternoon, talking about the big Women's Wellness Expo and event and seminar and conference and more, and all the great things that will happen as a consequence of that. And we hope that you took some good notes. We hope that you've been inspired this afternoon, and we hope that you'll do something special as it relates to your health. My next guests are ready to talk at this time, and I'm glad that they're here right now. Davina Patterson is with us today. She's the executive director. Look at that big smile. Let me tell you, folks, if you're not on the live stream, you're missing the big smile and the warmth and the sunshine this afternoon that Davina has brought into the studio. She's the executive director of the Disability Resource Network, and we want to say welcome to her this afternoon.
Well, thank you for having me.
Are you doing okay?
I'm doing great.
Good. It's good to have you, and it's good to know that you're a part of this conversation today, and that we're going to have a great conversation about a big event that's about to take place right here in the city, and we want as many people as possible to know about it. You, of course, are joined this afternoon with another very special guest, and she is joining us as part of the Disability Awareness Network as well. And Janae, it's good to see you this afternoon. And hopefully your sound is up and you're ready to roll.
Yes, it's great to see you as well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The last time I saw you, you were in a room having a lot of fun at a meeting. And
I'm always
it's good
having
to
fun with DRN.
Oh, well, listen, that's great to know. And listen, let's back up for 1 second so that people can understand what the Disability Resource Network is. Davina, tell us what that is, and then we're going to talk about all of the excitement that's coming as a consequence of the work that you all are doing.
Absolutely. So Disability Resource Network, we're a Center for Independent Living, and a Center for Independent Living is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We are consumer control, cross-disability, community-based, nonprofit, non-residential organization.
And tell me a little bit, how did this come to be? In my mind, I see it as sort of, when I say hodgepodge, I'm not diminishing the work that's done, but it's kind of a hodgepodge of different organizations and agencies in the disability provision services space who have now aligned themselves so that they can actually leverage the resources that are made available through each of these organizations working collectively together on behalf of a specific group of people. So talk to me a little bit about how this this group has come together, and what do you hope to accomplish in general?
Oh, wow. So we have very big plans, but we've already made our footprint in the region and in the area. So our team came together. We started in 2020. That's when the agency was launched. We did our spinoff, our state spinoff in 2021, October 1st of 2021. And so at that point, we achieved being a independent freestanding center for independent living. And so we've been building our team. Our team currently consists of a program specialist. We have a public health intern, a peer support specialist, a housing policy and law intern, and then we will be accepting another public health intern in the fall.
Okay, awesome. And with the establishment of this space, how have you thought about the work that you do having a greater overall impact on your service area? And what is your service area?
So our service area consists of 13 counties in North Alabama. We're based right here in Huntsville, Alabama, but we service the 13 counties in North Alabama. We would love to have global impact and have partnerships and relationships with international organizations, but because we are community-based, we can't necessarily expand our center beyond our service area, but we definitely can participate in projects and programs that will provide more of a global international impact.
I'm really, it's interesting because I think I'm really just kind of meeting Jernay, and I am really, when I read your bio, I was really fascinated that you're on the journey that you're on. And let me let people know what that journey is. You're a graduate of the University of, I'll say the great University of Alabama, with a Bachelor of Science degree in kinesiology, soon to be a graduate of the University of Alabama at Birmingham, where you're earning your master's degree in public health. Is that happening this time or next time?
No, it is currently happening now. I plan to graduate with my master's here in August.
August?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, listen, give it up. Give it up for her. Give it up for her. We're so excited. Listen, your journey has led and contributed to a range of meaningful initiatives, including COVID chronic long haulers, the impact of COVID, mental health, and individuals with disabilities. I know that you're very passionate about the space that you're in, working with people with disabilities. What has attracted you to that particular space as a career journey?
Well, to start off with, previously in my past, I've had a family member with cerebral palsy. And so we took care of him for a few years. So that's what initially gravitated me towards accessibility and what disability is as a whole. And I went to college and I got my bachelor's in kinesiology, and that's just, studying the human body and movement. And I'm like, well, this is great, but where do I go from this? I kind of want to do more, make a bigger impact, So I, towards my junior year of college, I worked at a group home. And so I got to see the logistics and, making a personal connect with individuals with intellectual or physical disabilities. And so I'm like, okay, I've had the hands-on experience, and I'm getting my master's in public health, which, is bringing advocacy and policy and community change to this. I'm like, how can I combine the two to make the biggest impact? And that is when I ran into Davina, and she has given me the leeway of like, oh, we can do all of this into one. This would be perfect for you. And so that is why I'm here today.
Oh, listen, I'm thrilled for you, and it sounds like you're living your best life right now, which, of course, is so important. I kind of thought that there may have been a thing in your life that directed you that way, because that happens a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And it's just so great to see that you're able to fulfill your desires and even grow more in the process as well. Davina, of course, you have a huge event that's coming up. It is a fireside chat with none other than the Honorable Anthony Tony Coelho, former U.S. Representative and ADA sponsor. I cannot be more excited for you as a former mental health counselor full time. I do maintain my certification, but 10 years out the gate out of Oakwood, I worked at the Huntsville Rehab Center that is now Phoenix. So my first experience as a psychology graduate was in a rehabilitation facility long before the ADA. But that's another story. Listen, as I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute, ADA was signed in like 94. I'm like, whoa. But anyway, so what was fascinating to me about that is we landed at a spot where there had always been services for people with disabilities, but there was also this evolving knowledge base and education base about how our services need to really lie at the center of the person, not the institution, the organization, or ourselves. And to me, sort of deflecting that in a way that we're now diverting the energy where it needs to go. In other words, what's best for the consumer, what's best for the people that we serve, I think was a big part of what led to the ADA being signed. Talk to me a little bit about this fireside chat with the primary sponsor of the ADA bill coming to Huntsville on July the 19th.
Absolutely. So Reflections of Fireside Chat is going to be a moderated conversation between the moderator and our speaker. And we will be exploring and reflecting on the history of the ADA, the creation of it, what led to it, our speaker's personal experience with it, and what kind of motivated him to start the ADA, to write it, to draft it, and then the process that he had to go through to actually get it to go into law. So he's a very, very, very honorable, elite, just an impactful leader that has changed the landscape of our country, of our nation. And we are honored to have him in Huntsville with us, as this is our inaugural fundraiser. This was the perfect speaker to have here as we embark on the 35th anniversary of the ADA, as well as it's going to be held during Disability Pride Month. So,
wow, that's huge. And for a city like Huntsville, now being the largest city in the state, to have a premier experience like this. And again, I told you before, coming out the gate with such a profound person as Tony Coelho, I think that is extremely awesome. We had hoped to have Representative Coelho on this conversation today, but in the event that we're not able to today, we can certainly try to do it one more time. I think we've got one more shot at the end of this month that we can shoot for, because I'd love people to hear his first-person testimony. I, of course, doing my research for the show, went back and reviewed a keynote speech that he gave to the Epilepsy Foundation in 2015. And I was just enraptured by his backstory. I did not know his backstory. I knew he was the author of this, but his backstory is absolutely phenomenal. Let me just share a little bit of that backstory so that people can kind of know what's going on here. He was diagnosed with epilepsy when he was 22 years old. And his ministry was marked by significant milestones. Primary author and sponsor of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the most important piece of civil rights legislation in the last 30 years, advocating for the ratification of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and convincing President Bill Clinton to establish the Office of Disability Employment Policy at the U.S. Department of Labor. He continues to be an advocate for civil rights for individuals with disabilities, convincing President Barack Obama to issue an executive order enforcing Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1963, which I'm very familiar with because that's what we were operating under, requiring federal contractors and subcontractors to hire people with disabilities, as they have been doing since 1973 for women and minorities. I want to ask this question in the context of those things I just said. Do either of you have any concerns that with some of the regressive legislation that is now coming out of Washington, D.C., that there could be some challenges, some roadblocks, some obstacles as you move forward? And are you having those conversations in your staff meetings? Are you seeing any evidence of that in terms of maybe money being diverted in other areas or not being where you expected them to be? What's the landscape look like right now, Davina?
Well, there has been some funding cuts, federal funding cuts. looks like the state funding is okay, but there has been some federal funding. I'm not sure if it's in relation to the ADA or disability, but our national organizations and some of our funders, we're trying to keep independent living centers in the hands and in the control of people with disabilities, because they're trying to change our reporting agency. Right now, we're under Administration of Community Living, and they're trying to reassign that to another department. And so we are in conversations and in talks to keep the independent living programs and the centers under the administration of ACL.
Janae, I'm always interested in kind of hearing from younger people and other generations of people with regards to what they think, what they see, what they feel about the landscape right now. As you generally at the start of your career in this area, or at least an early part of your career in this area, what kinds of feelings or thoughts do you have as it relates to the current climate that we're in? And how do you remain optimistic and hopeful for something moving beyond that?
As of now, I'm just kind of trying to learn as much as I can and maneuver through this space as best as I can. Just finding out all information, finding out all backstories, and just knowing the new policies and the new ways of funding. Just kind of researching that and learning how it applies to me in my community. So it's a big change to learn and maneuver, but I feel lucky. Like, I come into DRN and we do our projects, and I'm meeting so many individuals within our communities, whether these individuals have disabilities or whether they do not. And I'm having a great time learning. I'm having a great time creating new programs and learning what issues are surrounding us, so that I can just go forward and apply it as best as I can. Because even if policies are changing, we still as DRN and as an organization can give the best information and best education to our community around us. So that makes me feel, more comfortable and just satisfied that we are making change happen little by little.
Davina, from the education perspective, what are you feeling right now? Are you hopeful that we've made a lot of progress over the years, clearly, and that's something that we can celebrate, and we still see a lot of evidence of that everywhere we go, and I think that's something we can hold on to. But talk to me a little bit about where some of the challenges still face within the general population. And I'm asking that because when I was in higher education, I still had instructors. I was a dean. Instructors who, why do we need to provide these accommodations? And so it was a lot of education in terms of the education curve for people learning about this act and understanding what the responsibilities are for people in terms of making accommodations. What are your general feelings about the landscape right now in terms of people's receptiveness, growth, and potential to grow?
Well, that's a barrier and it is a challenge. So we really would like to work with the special education programs. Just making it more accessible and having more inclusive classrooms for people with disabilities. I've heard personal stories and testimonies from people with disabilities about being in the classroom and accommodations, accessibility, inclusiveness, not being able to be in the general classroom. So if we could help educate and train some of our educators on how to identify disability. I think a lot of people, when they think of disability, they're always thinking about the physical part, people with physical disabilities, but they're not always thinking about those with invisible disabilities. So we have people with learning disabilities. We have neurodivergent people. Their brains just work different. Some people learn different. They process information differently. We have assistive technology to help people with disabilities to kind of bridge that gap in the classroom. And I just think that we could be a great resource and a great partner to help just increase people's independence in the classroom, and as well to bring awareness in the classrooms or in the education system as well.
Yeah. When we think about the challenges that lie ahead, there's also great opportunity within those challenges. And part of the response has to be that we keep pressing forward, that we keep bridging the gap, that we keep creating alliances so that people can have a deeper well of understanding about where we're headed in this process. I know that in this particular time, having been in that space almost 4 decades ago now, that I've seen a lot of progress, but I also see a lot of change, a lot of perseverance, and I also see a lot of resistance to that still in this particular day and time. What I will say, it's interesting. I don't know if you've noticed around the city of Huntsville, I see a lot of modifications of street curbs going on right now. It's almost like, I used to work for the city, and that's the city doing that. I don't know if it was forthcoming or if there's, perhaps part of that bigger master plan, because that's not an area I necessarily worked in, but I'm seeing a lot of that, and it makes me more optimistic. But I have to tell you, and only people that live in this community would understand this, but I still drive up and down Highway 72, and I see some frightening things when I'm driving up and down Highway 72. I see people in walkers or with walkers, using walkers to cross a 7-lane highway. I see people in wheelchairs trying to cross a 7-lane highway. I see some frightening things out there as a consequence of that. And so on the one hand, I'm delighted to see some transition going on and some progress and improvement in terms of the infrastructure. But I'm also, I remain concerned that there's maybe a level of education, cross here, don't cross there. Or, I don't know what the answer is, but I know my blood crawls sometimes when I'm driving up and down 72. I just see, and I'm not just talking about the person that's dashing across the street. That's dangerous in itself. I'm talking about the person who clearly has a disability and is trying to make their way across. So as you navigate the community that you're in, as you have this network of people who are providing information, resources, and support for you, are you encouraged by what you're seeing? And how do you play a role in that? Do you advise? Do you communicate? Do you make people aware of certain needs? How does that work?
Absolutely. And before I answer that, Tony's been trying to connect. He said that he's been on. I don't know if you've gotten his link or anything, but he said he's been trying to connect.
Well, no, I didn't have his contact, so you had the link and you were going to get it to everybody.
Right. Okay.
So I didn't have whatever link you all have should be the link he has.
Okay. I think he said he tried to access it. So yeah. I don't know if he just automatically comes in or if there's a waiting room.
Yeah. I've got a virtual room. That's how I saw you guys in the room. And so I just saw my next guest come in. So I'm not sure where he is or what he's doing.
Okay.
But you may want to just shoot him a message and say, you may want to, can you send him that link one more time since you're on, it works.
Sure.
And it would be the same link you guys have had that he would utilize to get in.
Okay. All right. So I've sent that to him.
All right. And maybe he'll pop up in just a minute. If he does, I will see him right down here somewhere.
Okay.
All right. You were going to tell me, though. Davina, you were gonna answer my question about what you see and how you engage, and do you inform people? Do you encourage people? Do you advise people? How does that process work with your organization?
Yes, absolutely. So I feel encouraged. We definitely advocate. We try to advocate for people with disabilities on all issues that we see that impacts people with disabilities. We've started a transportation program where we're trying to advocate for accessible transportation, public transportation here in Huntsville City and Madison County. We have other issues that we advocate on behalf of, which is education, employment, housing, affordable and accessible housing. So those are some of the key areas that we advocate on. And then we're always bringing awareness, always just working with our partners to let them know that we're here for the community and for people with disabilities, and how we can be a resource and offer services to help them on their path to independence.
All right. I was actually hoping, I kind of gave you a layup. You know what the layup was?
What was the layup? Did I miss it?
Weren't you part of my disability committee when I was working for the city of Huntsville? And weren't you responsible for providing me with on-the-ground insight as to things that might be going on and things that your resource network might be doing?
Absolutely. And I'm still on that committee. I'm still on the advisory committee. But
I gave you a layup.
You did. I'm sure Dr. Barber is happy that you did that.
Of course. But
Yes.
what has that experience been like? Because I think, again, a lot of people who are outside the system are always saying this isn't happening or that's not happening. Or I don't understand why they don't listen to us. But really, my experience has been that there are people who are listening. There are people who are meeting and talking and trying to figure things out and trying to, as we said last session, collaborate and partner together. So what has that experience been like?
Oh my God. So we're a small nonprofit. We have a very small team. So we rely on partnerships, collaboration to bring a greater impact. So we've been able to collaborate and partner with our community partner organizations and community partners to bring change to the community that we just can't do by ourselves. All of us have similar missions. We do similar work. And so we appreciate and we value our partners, the work that they do, the population that they serve, and any opportunity we can get to work together and be a resource or to advise or give counsel, because we're one of those organizations, we serve cross disability. So, so some of our partners, they focus on certain disabilities, maybe intellectual, or it may be cerebral palsy or epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, but we cover all disabilities, deaf, blind. So we do invisible as well as visible disabilities. And there's a lot of things that, because they focus on one disabilities, they may not know about. And as a certified ADA coordinator, I now receive my certification. I'm here to also be a resource and be an advocate, and also to consult and advise groups, facilities, organizations, even municipalities on how we can be more accessible and inclusive for our overall community.
Tell us where people can get information about the event that's coming up. Again, we got about 2 minutes left, and I don't see Tony yet. If he comes on, we'll try to work him in somewhere, but I don't see him yet. Maybe when you get off, you can test it with him and we can see what happens.
Yeah, he sent me an email. He said he's been trying to get in. His computer doesn't recognize the platform, and he wants to know, can he call in
So when you guys got on, y'all just click the link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. But I understand he's a person who probably, like me, didn't grow up around technology, and we're kind of like still trying to learn and stuff. So we'll be gracious.
Absolutely.
We'll be gracious. But maybe again, you want to, when you get off, you might want to say, hey, no, this is all you need. And you can test it. I'll see you. I won't be able to bring you in, but I'll see you if you come on, and I may do something like this and while I'm talking to my next guest. So how can people get information though?
Yes, so our fundraiser information is on our website. It's on www.drn256.org/fundraiser. And that's where you can purchase tickets. You can also read about our fundraiser. The proceeds will be going toward creating a scholarship for people with disabilities, as well as just to support DRN's mission to continue providing independent living services to people with disabilities.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I have really appreciated the conversation that we've had this afternoon. The Disability Resource Network is really doing some good stuff on the ground in these 13 counties. And I know that people are benefiting every day. Ladies, thank you for the time that you've given to us this afternoon. And again, if Tony pops up, I'll he's Tony Coelho. So I'll speak to him. He'll have to wait a moment. Because I've got another guest that's coming on, but we'll see if he pops up. I'll definitely accommodate him this afternoon, or we'll talk about a backup date towards the end of this month.
Okay, sounds good. I hate, we didn't get a chance to include him, but I do know that, he is not here local in Huntsville and the technology difficulties and everything.
Well, no. He's not here, so I could say this. My first guest is in Okinawa, Japan. So there's no reason. There's no reason why he shouldn't be able to get on. But it's all good. Like I said, when you get off, you can kind of talk to him because you haven't been able to talk to him. So maybe you can just, maybe you can talk to him on phone.
I can, yeah.
And then y'all can say, hey, Tony, let me walk through this with you. And, he'll pop up and we'll see what happens. Ladies, have a great afternoon, all right?
Thank you.
For having us.
All right, see you, Janae.
Bye.
Right, bye-bye. Great conversation on Disability Resource Network this afternoon and great work that they're doing. We're going to keep the ball rolling this afternoon as I see my man Curtis Akers is in the house this afternoon. What's going on, Curtis?
Hey, man, what's going on, man? And I'm learning this StreamYard myself, and hopefully I don't want to mess up the flow. So I know I came in early and went back out. So
well, you're smart. You did what a lot of people do. You listen. I just tell people all the time, hey, sign in about 5 or 10 minutes early, play around with the camera. Yeah. You see, whatever you see is what I'm going to see, all of that stuff. And make sure your mic is working and things like that. So, but some people, they'll wait to the last minute and they'll trust in God. But well,
yeah, you can trust in God, but you need to go ahead. Faith without works is dead.
Curtis Akers is a medicinal herbalist and naturopath, receiving his education from Trinity College of Natural Health. Curtis is an author, researcher, program developer, facilitates special class at Oakwood University on botanical medicine, non-drug therapeutics. He also, along with his wife, Paula, who was on the show earlier today, they co-direct the South Central Conference of Seventh-day Adventist Health Ministries. And, of course, he's a part of the Abundant Living telecast that they do as well. And on the Three Angels Broadcasting Network has done that for over 28 years. We're so grateful that he has chosen to be with us this afternoon. As Paula suggested earlier, they are co-laborers in ministry in a lot of ways. On the same day that they did the Women's Health Initiative, they did a men's health initiative that Curtis led, and it was titled Bedroom, Belly and Beyond. What a topic, man.
Well, Kenny, now, like I was listening to my wife, and of course, if she said menopause or whatever, then you may not have gotten as many women. And so I said, well, I gotta label this, Kenny. Okay, if I say how to reverse erectile dysfunction, me and the deacon who opened up the church will only want to be in the room. So let's repackage this. I know one of the stores that a lot of women know about, and men too, is Bed Bath & Beyond. So wait a minute. Maybe I can work with that one. Bedroom, belly, and beyond. So, of course, bedroom, we have problems in the bedroom. And now that's not the problem. Now, one of the worst things I can do, one of the hardest things for me to do is to fold a fitted sheet. Now, that's hard, but I wasn't talking about that one. And then, of course, belly, that's obvious. The beyond part, Kenny, is prostate cancer. That's the beyond part. So the belly and the prostate, that was about maybe 30% of the presentation. The 70% was the bedroom, testosterone, etc. So that was 70% of that presentation.
All right. Well, we're going to donate 70% of this conversation to that part as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or whatever percentage that we can fit into the last 26 minutes of this conversation. We'll go ahead and do that. But listen, Curtis, I'm really glad you're here for a number of reasons. Number one, I have always admired the partnership that you've shared with Paula, the ministry that you all have shared, your willingness to lead in the way you all have. You've done it for almost 3 decades now in terms, and of course, you've been doing this for much longer than that, but the partnership that you all have had has been rich because you all have enriched the lives of so many people across the globe. This is a global ministry that you have participated in that has all kind of roots, and I use that word specifically, all kind of roots in helping people develop lifestyle stuff that really matters. And so this conversation that you had in the other room while the ladies were in a different room is a very important conversation. Talk to me a little bit about, I'll start right where I kind of left off with the other conversation. Men, 50% less likely to do preventative care. We die typically 5 years sooner than our ladies. So we leave our ladies and we leave our families and they move on. I mean, they keep life goes on, you know. And we don't do the kinds of things. We are not as likely as women to have health insurance. I mean, all of these different things that literally hurt us and create a challenge for our lives actually impedes our ability to get something out of life. And so I'm sure that part of your motivation was that, but just talk to me about what your general thoughts are regarding men and why we tend not to seek out the help that we need.
Yeah, so we're supposed to have another person on here. I don't think he's going to make it. But anyway, let me just say this.
He just logged on. I was going to bring him in right after this.
Good. Okay, yeah, because he was part of the conversation. Number one, I think it was mentioned already that, you know, we as men, you know, part of us is Clark Kent, you know, Superman, and, you know, hey, I can just kind of push through the pain, and, you know, and sometimes we go to the doctor, you know, for some, it's a sign of weakness. I mean, some men, I know that some of the wives tell, well, not some, but maybe 1 or 2 would say that if a man gets lost, to ask for directions is simply a sign of weakness. They would just drive around in circles. I mean, just, you know, so it's that mentality that's built into our DNA, not some men, not all, but it's just that thing that I'm going to push through it. I can take this. I'm strong. And so therefore we die sooner. And so I had to really package this because let me just say this. We've been doing this for quite some time. The most challenging group to reach when it comes to health of living is the male, the black male that lives and born and raised in the South. Those 3 criteria right there, you almost have to stand on your head, promise to give out gold nuggets, have Popeye's dinners ready, watermelon. I mean, really to get men to come out. That is the most challenging group of all demographics. Black male that's born and raised in the South. So I'm dealing with all 3. And so I had to kind of package this and say, once I got them in the room, I said, you know, the 30% was the belly and the prostate, the 70% was erectile dysfunction. And then when I got them in the room, I told one of the guys, I said, okay, the guy who was next to the door in our room, I said, okay, go ahead and lock the door. I got him now. Lock the door. You are mine. It's going down.
You did the Marvin Sapp deal just on health.
Oh yeah. Okay. That was a good one. Yeah, Kenny, I'm writing. I'm going to use that for my next presentation.
Hey, look, man, you said lock the door. Brothers start looking around, man. Especially if they're from Chicago and New York. They're going to lock the door. What you talking about?
The only thing, Kenny, I just didn't ask for money, but I just said I'm open for donations.
Listen, let me bring your other guest in, Clinton Lindo, who is originally from New York. He is a database administrator based right here in Huntsville. He's married with 3 sons and 1 granddaughter. Attends First Church, pastored by Dr. William Lee. His passions include audio-visual ministry, video games, and along with his wife, Sherry, marriage, and family ministry. They wrote a book together on the subject entitled As for Us in Our House. We're so glad to have him on this afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast, Clinton.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, what part of New York you from?
I was born and raised in New York City, and the last place in New York I was in near Poughkeepsie, Beacon, New York.
Yeah. So I got to call you out. I'm sorry, man. I'm a New Yorker, man. You know,
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
If I ask you where you're from, don't tell me New York. Are you from Manhattan?
Actually, born in Manhattan, raised in Queens.
Okay. See, that's what I'm saying. See, I'm a Manhattaner. So when people start talking about New York City, I'm like, wait a minute. You just start talking about the boroughs. What are we talking about here? Because the only place that has the NYC designation is Manhattan.
Okay, but
everything else is Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island. You know, so that's what I was asking. I wanted to make sure I knew who I was talking to here. And then you mentioned Beacon and Poughkeepsie, of course. You know, that's where the campground is up in Hyde Park. And so I spent summers up there as a kid, and then of course lots of camp meetings in Tent City and with my parents and stuff. So good stuff, man. Good to meet you officially. And good to have you on the broadcast. Now, you were one of the ones that heard "Lock the Door." What was your first thought?
When we got in there, he made sure that door was closed, had somebody guarding it. So,
what were your expectations before going into this session? And give me one takeaway coming out of it.
Well, my expectations, I've had experience when going to Curtis, his presentations before. I knew it was going to be a lot of information packed in, but I really wasn't expecting what I got. And he really went in depth, and it was kind of like a Vegas situation. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it was a very personal, very, personal to him even, how he presented it, and I actually really appreciated it because it made it more real for me and the other participants. And the takeaway that I got from it was, I heard you were talking before, was that us men, we really need to guard our health. We tend to be a little bit like martyrs. It's part of martyrs and part fear, where we're like, well, we'll make sure everybody else goes to the doctor. But no, we don't need to. No, I'm strong, and it's probably best if I don't know. I could power through it. And as long as I pray, I'm going to be fine. And I don't have to worry about myself. And we don't want to hear that we need to change our lifestyle. We want to hear that we need to change our diet. We rather not hear those things. So that's the fear part of it. And sometimes we just have to put our big boy pants on and really take the reins and say, okay, this is my health. I need to be here not only for my children, but for my grandchildren. If I can get a chance for my great grandchildren, I owe it to them to watch my health. And that's why I appreciated the presentation that Curtis put out.
Yeah, Curtis, I've always found it kind of a cruel, it's not a hoax, but the hoax comes to mind when I think about it. But it's kind of a cruel thing when you think about the fact that so many men have this strong sexual identity about them. So much of that involves performance. And then you get this thing called erectile dysfunction that becomes part of the mix. And it always seems like this cruel thing that was out there that, it's like the last thing a guy wants to have to confront is erectile dysfunction.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about your message to the guys as it relates to that specific challenge that a lot of guys face.
Okay, so let me and Clinton said, I was very personal with the guys as well. The main thing is that this is something. Let me just say this up front. As we age, we automatically lose testosterone. As women age, they lose or diminish in estrogen, we lose testosterone. And it's not just testosterone. We always talk about, low T. We talked about DHEA and androgen. You don't hear too much about those other two, but low T gets to all the headlines. And so as we age, about at 20 or 30 years of age, then we lose about 30%. And we lose a percentage with each passing decade of life. This is a natural phenomenon. And so therefore, my thing is when testosterone drops, and it does that naturally, then something else drops, without going into detail, just use your mind, and then the stomach comes out, the belly fat. So it has a double whammy with other things as well. And the reason why this program came about, and I'll tell you, I told the men there as well, because my wife and I health director for the church for many years, some of the wives have come to me, different Sabbaths over the years, and they almost come almost like Nicodemus at night. They look both ways, and they say, Curtis, now, no, I'm serious. The Kelly laughed. I haven't even got to the punchline yet. They will say, Curtis, please do not tell my husband, but he needs help in the bedroom. And I got that, and then the next week or a week after, I got another request, and then maybe a month later, I got another one. So, oh, wait a minute. Okay. After a while, I said, okay, I need to develop a presentation on this because of the request of the wives. That's how it came about.
Wow.
Now, my wife is doing hers for years, but this is something I just developed over a year or so ago now, and this is about my 6th time doing it. And so this is something that is not being talked about, but men and women are experiencing these things. And so that's how that came about, because of the demand or the inquiries of the wives coming to me personally.
I would imagine there's a lot of denial that's part of that space as well, when intellectually guys want to tell themselves, that's not me, and they're comparing themselves to who they may have used to been.
Yes.
And they're thinking about the present situation when this challenge comes again that so defines many men. I mean, that's part of their definition. That's part of their core sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of us remember I do. I remember sitting around with when I was my younger self in my 20s, and we're kind of sitting around, the guys are talking. We're not giving no specific details, but we're all making sure that everybody knows that I'm good.
Yeah.
We ain't giving no details.
Yeah.
But it's like, yo, I'm good. But then we reach this point in our life where we realize, as you said, Curtis, this transition has taken place. I mean, this is hormonal. This is what happens over time. And we're going to confront that in some form or fashion, some way. And so I imagine there's a lot of denial around this whole conversation where guys not only don't want to talk about it, but don't want to accept it.
Right.
Yes. Well, that's why sometimes the Time magazine had a whole article called Man-opause. It is real. It is real. And so, and there's so much billions of dollars in, there's a clinic here that deals with that. And, the side effects, so we talk about the side effects of other drugs out there, Cialis, Viagra, those kind of things. And I mean, we're talking about hormone replacement therapy with men. And of course, that can increase prostate cancer. I mean, the therapy itself increases prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Blood clots, blood pressure, cardiovascular events, heart attacks and strokes, sleep apnea, sleep problems, and liver disease as well. And so we offer something better that does not have those baleful side effects and is considerably less costly that you can get, and we talk about that as well. So, but it was just such a welcome to see. Now, my wife had about 90, and of course, and we did the same amount of advertisement on our church and Facebook, the same amount of advertisement. Now, let me say this, to be fair, of course, generally speaking, at most churches, 65% is going to be women in most churches, give or take. So, I mean, just do the math. So, but she had close to 90. So I had 35. So that kind of like, it's 3 to 1.
Yeah.
As far as men's concerned. But again, I'm just glad they had the 35.
Listen, and I always say the 30.
Out.
Yeah, the 35 that showed up with the 35 who were supposed to be there, and so
yes.
I'm glad that experience took place. I want to ask Clinton, and happy Father's Day to both of you guys. I know it's Father's Day today, and I want to at least acknowledge that. Clinton, you've got 3 sons, and one of the things that I've advocated for is that there have to be family spaces to be able to have these kinds of health conversations. And I wonder, not trying to put you on the spot, I'm not just sure what you do or how you're thinking about this, but it just seems like you've got a natural incubator to start not just modeling the behavior for your sons, who, as they grow older, tend not to be as attentive to their health, and also be able to communicate to them in ways why self-care is so important. What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts on that is that you first start with modeling your behavior after what you want them to do. It's hard for me to tell them to do something that I'm not doing. So basically, I make sure I let them know, no, I'm going to the doctor. I have a doctor's appointment. I do a yearly physical. I make sure that, okay, this is, my son will tell you, like, if there's something going wrong, oh no, we're going to the doctor. We're going to ER. We're going, we're doing these things to make sure that they know that I prioritize not only their health, but my health as well. And they'll see it, especially through my wife. My wife will be in a second, no, you need to go to the doctor. You need to go and get something checked out. But as we grow older, now that the 2 of them are on their own, and so I'll be quick to tell them, hey, you need to go to the doctor because you see how I do things, and you see how I model myself in my marriage, and model myself how I conduct myself in church. I have offices, and so I want to make sure that I am presenting myself as the kind of people I want them to be, especially as Black men. There's expectations on them, and I knew that from way back when they were young. And I'm like, this world is going to eat them up and spit them out. So I need to be present. I need to act like the way that I want them to act. I have to model the behavior that they would want to see. And that's actually kind of like what I said in the bio, that we're like not only marriage, but family ministry oriented, where we're trying to present to make sure that the fathers and men know that you can't just say it. You need to live it, because our children are not going to go and follow. They're not going to follow what we say. They're going to follow what they see us emulate.
And Curtis, what Clinton said is so important, because as young people, we have eternity syndrome. We think we're going to live forever, and we don't really, and just think about how when we were even much younger than that, and we'd run and fall and we'd play all day. And nobody needed to rest. And it was like, I remember I was a big baseball guy when I was a kid. I couldn't wait to get back up the next morning because I knew baseball was on the agenda later that day, and then the next day, and the next day, And then, of course, life happens, you get old and stuff like that, and all that transitions in some form or fashion. But it's so important to plant those seeds early, even to the context of making sure people have life insurance, making sure that people understand the value of health checkups, and advocating for oneself. I have for many years now, but I am a 100% advocate for my health. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. So I've had 3 colonoscopies since the age of 40, because I knew as a Black man, I needed to make sure I'm checking on what's going on. I wasn't just going to go get the digital rectal exam or the other one that they do with the blood test, PSA. And just walk, the PSA, and just walk away and say everything's okay. I want to get in there and take a look at it. And so I advocated for myself. And so the last time I had one was in 2017. And they said, well, you can go for 10 years before you get the next one.
Yeah.
Well, the previous 3, I had polyps. They were benign, but they were polyps.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm older. And so I told my my general physician when I saw him earlier this year, I said, listen, man, I'm not going to wait 10 years to get another colonoscopy. I need one now. So I have one scheduled for August of this year. I am advocating for my health, and I'm not taking no. And I think it's so important for us to recognize that there are different degrees that we need to advocate for in terms of our own health, but even our family members around us. I remember when we were caregiving for my mother-in-law and how important that became for us and making sure we understood the landscape. There's so much, I think, Curtis, that we can really do as men to continue the journey that you've been on for so many years. But these kinds of conversations, these frank, authentic, transparent conversations are so important. So what's the next step in the journey for you coming away from this very positive experience?
For me or Clinton or?
I'm starting with you, Curtis, because you kind of coordinated everything.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I talked about in the session, because this is June Men's Health Month, is that prostate exam and the PSA. And one guy thought, Kenny, I was talking about public service announcement. So no, that's a different seminar. And then a pastor, he would say prostate cancer. No, it's prostate cancer. He's still in the pulpit. So there were some jokes there as well. The main thing is that because at one time I went away from my job, turned in my resignation, my wife and we were full-time self-supporting ministry, no insurance. So every single year at the Madison County here in Huntsville, Alabama, they do free prostate exam and digital exam, PSA. And so I started doing that starting at the age of 50 because my father died of prostate cancer and my grandfather died of prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, their diet was totally different from mine, but still the same. I had those, and I've had 17 PSAs. Oh, wow. And digital rectal exam, not as many as those, because I want to keep up with that. And I have a folder, and all 17 are 0. So if it goes up to about maybe 2 or 3, then okay, that's a red flag for me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So and that's free because a lot of men do not have any insurance. So this is something free every single year, and you get either an umbrella or a T-shirt or a cap. I've got so many caps and T-shirts and umbrellas. You can ready, but this is free because we're talking about those who do not even have insurance. Yeah. Because if we do get prostate cancer, we don't want to get the aggressive kind.
Right.
We want the kind where, if you just do the math, chances are we'll die of heart disease, about over 200,000. Prostate cancer, about 40,000. So just do the math. So prostate cancer is a cancer that, in most cases, you'll die with, not from. But the aggressive kind is the thing that will take you out. So you want to keep those yearly PSAs, digital rectal exams. So if something creeps up, at least you have a margin to go by from last year or year before last and see whether or not those numbers are increasing.
Absolutely. Clinton, I'm going to give you about a minute to kind of summarize the conversation we're having right now, including, what you've taken away from this experience and what you plan to do next.
Well, I plan to make sure that, as Curtis said, taught us to really value our health. And he even stopped there. He even told us to value our relationships with our wives, because part of our health is emotional health. And we have to make sure that we not only cover how we're feeling physically, but how we're feeling emotionally, because stress is a killer. And so if we put all of that together, along with our faith in God, and to pray about these things, because just sometimes we don't even want to pray about these things. And so we put them all together. Once we decide that we're going to take our health in our own hands, we're going to do much better. You can't do worse. You should take your health in your hands and find out where you are. You can actually get on a road to doing better, whether it's diet, whether it's medication, whether it's just having tests. You will be on the road to doing better, and I'm sure your family will end up thanking you for it.
Clinton Lindo, thank you for joining us today as a person who attended an amazing seminar that took place just a few weeks ago. And if you miss it, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities coming in the future. It's called Bedroom Belly and Beyond. That covered a lot of different men's health subjects. June is Men's Health Month. We hope that you'll do something important for yourself and advocate for your own health. Curtis, I gave Paula an opportunity to let people know how to connect with her. How would people connect with you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is my number, and because we're open for churches in this area as well to do the same thing for men's groups. So my number is 256-683-5198. Again, 256-683-5198. Now I will say this: in the coming months, August the 2nd, we'll have a citywide Defeating Diabetes at our church. Citywide, the mayor battles coming to welcome the guests, and so it's going to be free, open for everybody who has diabetes, type 1, type 2, or pre-diabetes, citywide. So just contact me with that number, and it'll be an awesome event. It'll be also live stream as well.
I'll reach out to you about coming back on the end of this month to talk about that, and love for as many people as possible to know about that and be a part of it. Curtis Akins and also Clinton Lindo, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I have appreciated the time you've given us, and best wishes to you both.
All right. Thanks for having us, Kenny.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
your
us.
program.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It is Father's Day, folks, and I typically close Father's Day or start Father's Day with my annual tribute to my own dad. So I will do that at this time. Today is Father's Day, and one of the things I don't get to do is call my father and wish him happy Father's Day. I'm one of the many who no longer have the physical presence of their fathers, but nevertheless, I look forward to this day each year because it gives me an opportunity to celebrate the life of my dad. The following is a text from a broadcast that I originally aired on July the 17th, 1995. So I've been doing this for 30 years now. Wow. Our society seems to cry out for real heroes and role models. I wanted to share my story of a real hero. I believe that every child wants to think of his or her dad as the best dad that there ever was. My experience was no different. I had the best dad any kid could ever have. Fortunately, it didn't take his sudden death for me to value and appreciate the gift that was his life. One of the most commonly heard phrases in our society is the sentiment that a good man is hard to find. Talk shows and periodicals are replete with the purported evidence that there's a pervasive unavailability of men today. Good men, though possibly hard to find, can be found, and my father was one of those men. Jack D. Anderson was born on July 16, 1923 in Johnston, South Carolina, to the late Joseph and Della Mae Anderson, originally from Charleston, South Carolina. He was the seventh of 8 children, 6 boys and 2 girls. My dad never completed formal education, but often is something that I say that he had a PhD in common sense. He was my best example of the reality that the most intelligent person is not necessarily the person who graduated summa cum laude from college. My dad entered the United States Army in the early 1940s, where he served for 3 years, including a tour of duty in northern France during World War II. It's amazing how little you know about people sometimes, even those who are closest to you. While going through my father's possessions after his death, my family came across information that my dad had received several Distinguished Service Awards while in the Army and had received an honorable discharge in 1946. A modest and humble man, my dad never really talked about those awards. My father rejoined his family in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and shortly after married my mom, the former Annie D. Crum, in New York City, which would be my birthplace. Their marriage would be preserved for 41 years, during which time God blessed the union with 4 children, Gwen, Jackie, me, and my younger sister, Annette. Outside of his love for God, my dad was extremely proud of his family and devoted his life to us. A short time after his death, I remember sitting on the couch with my mom talking about what a good man my dad was. Imagining the pain that I was experiencing at his son of 34 years, I suddenly realized that I could not begin to fathom my mom's pain, who remained deeply in love with him for 43 years. until the day he died. Sometime during our conversation, I noted that I could never remember hearing my dad raise his voice in anger toward my mom, and she quietly said, he never did. As a professional counselor, I know that there are so many people who cannot begin to think of growing up in a loving, nurturing environment without the common chaos that characterizes so many homes today. I was blessed to grow up in such a home. Now, don't get me wrong, we were no Brady Bunch family, and I probably had more in common with J.J. Evans than Beaver Cleaver, but my home was a place where God dwelt. My dad was the priest of our home. Family worship established a foundation for our existence, and my family prayed and played together. We ate together and watched a limited amount of TV together. We went to church together and sat together for years. I can appreciate all of these things so much more today now that I'm able to see the consequences of such practices. We lived in public housing, but when you live there, it's home, and nobody really knows the difference, especially when there's love. I'll never forget the time that my dad devoted to me on those days when he would come home from work and still take me outside to throw the baseball and bat the ball. I share his love for baseball and the New York Yankees today because of those special times, including trips to Yankee Stadium. My dad demonstrated a work ethic that was second to none. He was employed by International Flavors and Fragrances in Teterboro and later Dayton for 36 years before retiring in 1985. During that time, he amassed an impressive attendance record, and in the spirit of the time that he had to get up in the wee mornings of the hour, walk several blocks to the train station, catch 2 different trains, and then catch a bus to the Port Authority bus terminal for a ride into New Jersey. Once he arrived at his destination, he had a short walk from the bus stop. If I thought about it earlier in life, I might have guessed that my father was a mailman because neither rain nor sleet nor snow would ever seem to deter him from going to work. And he probably had 1,000 hours of leave when he finally retired. But that wasn't all. My dad was an active member of the Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brooklyn, New York for many years, where he served on the usher board and later on the deacon board. He served there faithfully until he relocated to New Jersey, where he continued to work for the Lord as a Sabbath school superintendent and deacon at the First Seventh-day Adventist Church in Glassboro, New Jersey, just east of Camden. My father was a very spiritual person who truly saw his duty and service to God as a marriage between his duty and service to others. It was not uncommon to see him with a broad smile on his face and an inspirational word on his lips or a piece of literature in his hand. One of the greatest testimonies that can be said about my dad was that he was very popular, not for what he had, where he lived, or who he knew, but because of who he was, a man of character and respect. He was well liked by everyone that he met, and people still tell me that they'll never forget him. He was known for his ever-present smile, his handshake, and kind words. He would always let you know that he was happy to see you. He was never too busy to take time for those he met. And no matter what, he always saw the good in others. Once he met you, he considered you a lifelong friend. He made everyone feel very special. Through the many years, he left memorable impressions on the minds of so many people. It would satisfy him just to know he was able to help someone or make him or her happy. He loved the time that he spent with his grandchildren and shared his love of sports with them also. He was always there when they needed him. My dad died after suffering a massive heart attack on the morning of Saturday, January 11th, 1992, while preparing for church, one of the things that he loved to do the most. His loss was and is still felt by so many loved ones, and he will never be forgotten. There's an Ashanti proverb that says, when you follow in the path of your father, you learn to walk like him. My Father's Spirit continues to live through the work that I do in this community and beyond, and I'm honored to be called his son. Some of the simple lessons that I have learned from my dad's life are people need loving the most when they deserve it the least. Take time for those you love. There's a vast difference between standard of living and quality of life. Work as if everything depends on you. Pray as if everything depends on God. There's no limit to the amount of good a person can accomplish if he or she doesn't care who gets the credit. Richness is measured by what one is, not by what one has. A friend is not a shadow who is present only when the sun shines, and a friend is someone who knows you and likes you in spite of knowing you. My dad was a great man, a good man, an excellent mentor, a devoted husband, role model, and my hero. My tribute to him, if I could only be half the man that my father was, I feel that I would be truly blessed. I want to thank you all for joining us on this broadcast today. It has been an amazing show, folks. I'm telling you, I would have listened if I wasn't the host. Chaplain Robert Peters joining us this started this broadcast all the way from Okinawa, Japan, and I certainly appreciate him for being a part of our conversation on today. It really was special. Paula Akins and also Carlisha Swan sharing information about women's health. We talked with a couple of awesome young ladies, Davina Patterson and Janae, joining us this afternoon. We appreciate both of them being a part of our conversation. And then finally, wrapping things up with Curtis Akins and Clinton Lindo, as well as my tribute to my father. To all fathers out there, once again, I want to say happy Father's Day to you. I hope you have an amazing day. And to those who still have the ability to reach out to your dad, make sure you do it on this very special Father's Day. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again on next Sunday.
Thank you for tuning in to Second Chance. We hope that the information that was shared has been a blessing to you and that your life will be enriched as a result of it. We'd love to hear from you, so please send your email comments to Kenneth Anderson at mxlife@aol.com. That's mxlife@aol.com. And check out our Facebook page, 2ND Chance. That's 2ND Chance. In the meantime, have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Good day.